In this tutorial, I'll show you guys how you can easily master skin retouching in less than 25 minutes. So we're going to be going through every single basic tool and technique to do skin retouching for this particular image, and want to do it in less than 25 minutes. And the technique we are going to be using rather is called frequency separation. So frequency separation is basically a skin retouching technique that divides the image into two so that you can work on those two layers individually or separately, so that when you combine both layers, you're going to be able to get back the image as a whole, and it is going to be looking as a retouched image at the end of the retouching process. So let's go and start and understand the concept of frequency separation. So like I said, frequency separation, we divide the image into two layers. So we just come to the background layer and hit Ctrl Command J twice. So make sure you select the background and hit Ctrl Command J twice. Then usually we name this low frequency, or some people call it color or skin tones, and this is usually our high frequency, just like that. So in the low frequency we usually have the colors, and in the high frequency we have the textures or the details of the image. So you're just going to turn off the high frequency layer and now come and select the low frequency layer. So remember, we only want to remain with the colors or skin tones in the low frequency layer. So what we want to do is just going to come to filter, blur, and you're going to come to Gaussian blur. So at this point you have the radius right here. So when you click on and drag this towards the right hand side, you'll be removing or eliminating details from the image. So for this case we have to move this radius up to a point. So just click and make sure you look at the area that has more prominent details than the rest of the skin in this case. So make sure you click and move it towards the right hand side up to that point when the details are starting to get lost from the image. So just stop at that point when the details are just starting to get lost from the image, and come and simply hit OK. So meaning we only have the colors and this layer lacks the details. So come the high frequency layer and now activate it by turning on the eye icon. And now for this layer we only want to remain with the details or the textures. So we're just going to come to image, then you're going to come to apply image. So for this case here under source we have the image details or the name of the image, and the layer from which we want to subtract the details is the low frequency layer. Like when we removed the details from the low frequency layer, we put them somewhere close in this low frequency layer. So just come and select that layer. So the low frequency layer has been selected, and since we are dealing with a 16-bit image, come and change the blending mode from whichever it is and just look for add, and opacity at 100, the scale is 2, offset 0. Make sure preserve transparency and mask are not checked, and make sure the preview is on, and make sure you check the invert option. And you're going to look at the details on this gray kind of layer if at all I'm to zoom in by hitting Ctrl or Command plus on the keyboard. But if at all you have an 8-bit image, you can see how we have 16. The settings are going to be different. So for an 8-bit image, make sure you select the low frequency layer, and for the blending, select subtract, opacity 100, scale is 2, offset 128. Make sure preserve transparency and mask are not checked, and the invert option is also not checked. So you are going to be having the same results. So for this case, I'm going to be leaving this to add, then scale is 2, offset 0, opacity 100, and make sure I turn on invert and hit OK. So we have the details on this gray kind of layer. Come the blending mode and change it from normal, and just look for linear light right here, and you're going to get back the image the way it was meant to look. So I want to put these in a group by hitting Command and clicking on both layers to select them, and hit Ctrl Command G on the keyboard to put them in a group. Double click right there, and they're going to name this frequency separation, just like that, and they're going to click and drop down right here. So with frequency separation, we're going to be using the technique of using a mixer brush tool and using the lasso tool method. So you're just going to come to the low frequency layer. So just want to blend or even out the skin tones in this particular image. So every time you're doing skin retouching, make sure you turn off the caps lock key, because every time you leave it on, it's going to be leaving or making whichever tool you select as a cross like icon. So make sure you turn off the caps lock key. So since we are going to be dealing with rather the skin tones, come and select the layer that contains the skin tone. So we just want to blend or even out the skin color or skin tones in this image so that we can have even or smooth transitions within the skin tone of this particular image. So you're just going to come the mixer brush tool. So you can come under the brushes and get the mixer brush tool. So just right click under the brushes to get the mixer brush tool. Or for other versions of Photoshop, we are going to find the option right here. So you have to set up the brush in the best way possible. So just come and make sure it is a clean brush. We have two options right here. We have load the brush after each and every stroke, which is the very first option, and we have clean the brush after each and every stroke. So we only want to use the second option. Make sure it is selected or checked. Whiteness, we're going to be using a whiteness of 9. Load 75, mix 90, flow 100. Make sure sample all layers is not checked or marked, because when you check this, it means that we're going to be adding the details into the brush, and when we start painting, it is going to be also copying and implying that it's going to be pasting more textures in this low frequency layer, which we don't want. So make sure that you don't check this sample all layers option. And when you're selected on the low frequency layer, you can now turn off the high frequency layer in order to see the unevenness in the skin tone transitions. And now you can zoom in slightly by hitting Ctrl Command plus on the keyboard, and you start painting or blending the unevenness in the skin tone transitions. So in order to start blending, make sure you simply left click, hold down the left click, and start moving the brush up and down depending on the shape of the area you're trying to even. So just come and blend. You can see I'm blending the highlight salon. So you have to paint over the areas in that direction, or how colors are trying to be in a particular area. So you don't have to drag or transfer color from one area to another. Just make sure you blend that color with the surrounding area. So reduce on the size of the brush by using the box brackets on the keyboard, and just come and continue painting just like that. And you are going to be looking or seeing the change or the difference in real time, because this is going to be dealing with the colors in this case. So just come and paint just like that, and I hope you can see that the difference is really being applied in real time on this image. So when we turn on the high frequency layer and zoom out, Command minus to zoom out, and we turn this on and off, you can see what I've just done by using just a few strokes of the mixer brush tool. So I'm just going to be doing the same for the overall image. So I just hope we are still on time, and I don't want this to be a very long tutorial. So just want to do skin retouching, and how I'm doing this, I'm basically trying to blend or even out the colors in this image by using the mixer brush tool. And how I'm doing this, I'm simply left clicking, and the settings for the mixer brush tool, I forgot to tell you, it is the hardness is at 0, of course. So just come and paint just like that to harmonize the colors in this particular image, just like this. So increase on the size and just come and paint just like that. I hope you can see that this is working on the image in real time. So you can use Command plus to zoom in depending on the area that you want to blend or even out in this particular case. So just do that. So you have to take your time when doing skin retouching, because every single time you tend to rush, you crash. So make sure you take your time, but I'm just trying to rush through because I want you guys to understand the concept of frequency separation as a technique of skin retouching. And if at all you do this well, you're going to be having a more professional result. But if at all you do it badly, you're going to be having an image looking really ugly. So you have to be careful with this kind of technique as your main skin retouching technique. That's why most people out there would recommend a macro dodge and burn. But if at all you don't have all the time in the world to sit behind the computer and do skin retouching, you can opt for frequency separation, and this technique is really helpful and time saving. So just do that. I think we are doing a pretty nice job. So make sure you keep on checking on the progress. So turn this back on can see a before after, and the image is really being transformed in real time. So we're just going to continue evening out the skin color or skin tones in this particular image. So just come and paint just like that, just harmonizing the colors basically using the mixer brush tool. So you can see I'm just trying to blend the colors that look alike in a particular area so that they can blend in together and they can really get harmonized. So that's what I'm trying to do while using the mixer brush tool. I'm just trying to blend the skin color. So just going to do the same for the neck area and make sure that we have those colors. So in order to zoom in, like I said, Command plus to zoom in. And how I'm painting, I'm basically using the mixer brush tool and holding down the left click button and hovering it over the area I want to blend or mix in this particular image, just like that. And I hope you can see the effect, for example, in the chest area or the neck area of this particular image, just like that. So remember, skin retouching is not only about the face. You also have to work on the hands and the fingers of the model. So make sure you don't leave the hands. So just do that. And if at all you're watching and haven't subscribed, this is a reminder, you can kindly subscribe if at all you're finding this tutorial really nice and helpful to you out there. So it's basically trying to blend or even out or get rid of those harsh lines in the hands of the model or the fingers. So that is what you're just trying to do using the mixer brush tool. And when you're done using a mixer brush tool, I'll share with you guys another technique that we can use to get better details in the skin of this particular model. So let's turn on the textures and we see what we have done for the skin retouching using the mixer brush tool. So this is the before, after, and after. And this is really a pretty nice and awesome job right here. So next thing is going to be using the lasso tool method to refine or fine tune the details or the skin color in the image. So in order to do this, you're just going to go to the lasso tool and make sure if at all you want to have nice edges from the selections, you're going to be using a feathering of 22 pixels and alias is selected, and make sure you're still selected on the low frequency layer. Come and make a selection on the skin just like that. So just come and select the skin area just like that and come back to filter blur and come to Gaussian blur. So remember, this is the radius we initially had. So the technique I found out is when you multiply this by 3, the radius you had when you're creating your frequency separation in the first case, just multiply it by 3 and you'll have the best details from the skin details. So just going to put 7 by 3, I think is 21, and just hit OK. So just want to apply or fine tune the other areas even more in this image. So just come. But as you're doing this, make sure you resist from applying it on the highlights because it's going to be making the image look really flat. So make sure you avoid these nice beautiful highlights in the images. So come right click and come to Gaussian blur. If at all you feel it is too much, you can simply right click on the selection. So if at all I apply it right there, you can simply right click on the selection and come to fade Gaussian blur, and you can reduce on the opacity of the Gaussian blur in a particular area. So just going to come to the chin area and you're just going to right click and come to Gaussian blur just like that. And I think this has made the image look even better. So let's see the before, after. I hope you can see the difference it has made. So the next thing is going to be removing the pimples or blemishes from this particular image, and the technique that we're going to be using, you can choose whichever option that you want, but remember, details or blemishes are part of the high frequency layer. So come and select the high frequency layer, and for this case I'm going to be using the clone stamp tool, and for the settings, the hardness I'm going to be using around 39, and opacity and the flow at 100. Align is selected, and sample, make sure it is on the current layer because you only want to deal with the textures in the high frequency layer. So this time around we have to zoom all the way in, reduce on the size of the clone stamp tool. So you can either use the healing brush tool, spot healing brush tool, or the patch tool to remove the blemishes. And I have tutorials about blemish removal. So I'm just going to come, reduce on the size, hold down the alternate key on the keyboard, and left click, close the blemish, and just click over the blemish to paste or stamp it, or get rid of it by stamping using the clone stamp tool. So that is what I'm basically trying to do, or clean up this image. So you have to take your time, like I said, while removing the blemishes, because this is a beauty portrait, and people prefer to look for mistakes in beauty portraits in most instances. So make sure you remove the blemishes all the way in the most perfect way possible, because every single time you leave the blemishes, people on social media just love zooming in and looking for those imperfections on every single retouched image. So make sure you do that. Don't leave any margin for error. Just do everything perfect, so that everyone that looks at the image is going to be awed by your skin retouching technique. And if at all you're a retoucher or photographer, you're going to be getting more bookings. So how I'm using the clone stamp tool, I'm basically left clicking, alternate, and left clicking, close the blemish, and left clicking to stamp over the blemish or get rid of it from this particular image. So let's just clean up and remove these blemishes from this image. Like I said, take your time while cleaning up or removing blemishes from your images, because blemish removal is going to contribute over 80% to your overall retouched product or retouched images. So just do that. So zoom out and see if at all you can see the blemishes even more, and you can now zoom in and continue cleaning up or removing blemishes from the images that you're trying to retouch. So I'm just going to do this quick, because like I said, we don't want to exceed 25 minutes for this very tutorial. So let's just clean up this quick, and I think this is really fine and beautiful. So let's just clean up these remaining blemishes so that we can learn about something else and new in this very tutorial. And if at all you're learning something, you can let me know in the comment section, and give this video a thumbs up. I've realized most people watch and they never like these videos, but when you like this video, remember YouTube is going to suggest it to more people out there who are interested in learning about photography. So you'll be helping me and people out there if at all you click on the like button of this particular video. So let's see what we have done for skin retouching. So this is initially before and after, before, after, before, after. So you can as well go on with the cleaning process if at all you have so much time at disposal. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to close this, and let's add a little bit of shape or dimension to this portrait. And in order to add shape or dimension, I'm just going to come and I'm going to play my dodge and burn action. And for those interested in purchasing these, you can simply click on the link in the description to purchase and support this channel by purchasing those actions that are going to help you speed up. We also have the frequency separation actions that are going to help you create all these layers. So I'm just going to come to my dodge and burn right here, and the advantage of that is to add shape or dimension to the image. So come and select it and hit the play button, and it has created for us those folders right here. So dodging and burning is more of enhancing the highlights and the shadows in a particular image. So when we are dodging, we dodge the highlights, and when we're burning, we burn the shadows to enhance the shadows or the highlights. So come the dodge layer, and you're going to come to the brush tool. So just going to get a soft round brush, opacity and the flow at 100%, and you're just going to make sure white is on the foreground. So just click right here to get white on top, and if at all you have other colors, you can click to reset to get white on top right here. use the arrows or X on the keyboard, and you're just going to draw shapes or lines on the areas that have highlights. Just draw on those areas that you feel should have highlights in this particular image, and you're going to do the same for the band. So for the shadows, just come and draw just like that, because we just want to enhance the shadows in this image. So come back and just enhance these highlights. So after doing that, come right here to the layer thumbnail, and rather just come here to the mask, make sure it is selected, and come to window, then come all the way to properties, and you can see when you move this slider, those lines are going to start fading into the image, and I think that looks fine. Come back to the band and also fade this into the image just like that, and this is going to enhance or add shape or dimension to the image. So we are just going to close this so you can see before and after for the dodge and band. So the last thing that we're going to do, we are going to color grade this image using my Camera Raw presets. Yeah, I'm just going to create a stamp visible by hitting Shift Alternate Command E on the keyboard, or Shift Alternate Control E on the keyboard. Then come to filter, then come to the Camera Raw filter. So when you do that, you're just going to come to right here to load settings, and when you come to load settings, you can see that I have all my presets right here. So I'm just going to play my Omega 1 and I see what that does. So this is the particular preset that I use for this particular or this series of images. So you can see the before and after for this particular image, but I feel like that is really too much. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to come to the warmth, and I'm just going to warm up this image slightly to around 2, and do some eye and teeth whitening. So I'm just going to come to the adjustment brush tool and come to my eye and teeth whitening action. So what this contains, I move the temperature to -25, the tint to 60, because I want to get rid of the greens in the white area of the eye and the yellows. Then I moved the highlights to 4 and the whites to 4. Then I moved all the way down the saturation, and in order to remove the remaining colors, I moved the saturation to -74. Then simply left click and start. So you hold down the left click and paint over the white area. Make sure you only paint over what should be white in the white area of the eye, and don't paint over this corner right here, because it's going to be showing you guys unnatural results for the eyes in this very case. So we don't want robotic or unnatural eyes at the end of the retouching process. So I'm just going to zoom in slightly, Command plus space bar, and click to move. So just click and do that. So we're just whitening the teeth a little bit to have or grab more attention of the person that is going to be looking at this image later on. So I think we are done color grading this image, and simply hit OK. And we're just going to come to the selective color option, and you're just going to come to the blacks and darken the darks a little bit around 3, and just add some kind of cooling filter to the image. So basically this is all for the retouching of this particular image. So let's say before and after for the skin retouching and color grading. So hold on the alternate, this is the image before and after, before, after, before, after. I hope you really love this particular image like the way I do love it. And in order to export the image so that you can have a sharp image at the end of your retouching process, simply come to File, Export, and come to Export As. And when you do that, you're going to be having this window right here, and it is going to open and load the image. This is the image that we have right now. So make sure, in order to have the image that is not going to be able to change in color and a sharp image after the retouching, make sure the format is in a JPEG. Leave all these the way they are. Make sure you change the resampling to bicubic sharper, and make sure you convert sRGB and also embed the color profile. And when you're done doing that, the next step is going to be exporting the image. So just come and hit export, and you can rename the image whatever you want and choose the location and simply hit save. So after doing that, this window is automatically going to close, And this is all for today's tutorial. And if at all you have loved this tutorial, don't forget to like this video and don't forget to subscribe this channel. If at all you have been watching and haven't subscribed this channel, Ronix from Ronix Photography. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in yet more tutorials. And don't forget to keep practicing and keep creating.